Going into 2026, I think there is 5 things that you need to focus on if you really want to get ahead in your finances. Before we start, I want to know what's one thing that you guys need help with financially that I can make a video about. Getting started at number 1, you have to control your cash flow. You don't need some type of perfect system, but you need to know exactly how much money is going in and how much money is going out of your bank accounts. The issue with this is that a lot of people are actually scared to open their bank accounts. I remember this was around 10 years ago, and I remember going into a Hollister, and yes, Hollister was super big back then still. Anyways, there was a couple at the cash register and they got the total for the checkout and they were kind of surprised by how much the clothes cost, and the girlfriend asked the boyfriend if he's okay with spending that much, and he said, yes, I don't even know how much is in my bank account or how much I spent this month. And the reason why a lot of people are scared is because they honestly feel like whenever they check their bank account, they get a bit of anxiety, and then that anxiety makes them never want to check the bank account, which makes them not in charge of their finances, which is just a downward spiral. Now, the hard truth is that you can't make smart decisions financially if you aren't keeping track of your money. I know it's not fun, it's kind of boring to a lot of people, but honestly, if you really want to get ahead in life, not just 2026, you have to start keeping track of your money and everything that you can do around it. Now, I'm not saying you have to create some giant Excel spreadsheet, which I do have one if you guys would like one, but what you need to do at least is keep a rough estimate in your head, or even if it's just like a notepad on your phone. I know everybody has a notepad on their phone, or if you want pen and paper, do that. You need to keep track of roughly how much money you have in bills going out, how much money you spend in fun stuff going out, and also how much money you have going into your bank account. A lot of people who are watching this video probably work hourly, and so your income can change every month. Or even if you are on a salary, then your income is pretty consistent. What is that exact number? And after you find out those 2 things, you need to find out what are some areas that you can start saving on. One of the biggest things that I always see people who spend the most money is they eat out a ton. Now, there's nothing wrong with eating out. I do enjoy eating out myself, but it becomes a bad thing when you are doing it so consistently that you are literally bleeding your bank account. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but let's just say you love fast food, right? And you spend around $15 every time you go to get fast food. In the morning on the way to work one day, you get it. On the way home from work, you get it for dinner one night. Then on the weekend, you don't want to cook anything because you want to relax, and then you spend it there. Just those 3 times in 1 week can add up to $45. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do 45 times 4, which is 4 weeks in a month, that is $180. Now, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty of it, $180 times 12 is $2,160. That is how much you would be spending a year just on fast food. Now, I'm not saying you can't ever eat fast food again, or can't ever spend your money on food ever again, but maybe even if you just cut that number in half, you could cut it down to around $1,000 a year. That extra $1,000 that you have could be spent so much better elsewhere that your future self could use, such as starting an emergency fund. Everybody, I believe, the first thing they need to do when it comes to finances is starting an emergency fund. Ideally, you have around 3 months of living expenses into the emergency fund. If you're self-employed, I recommend doing 6 months, and that money needs to be separate from your checking account. It needs to be put in a high yield savings account, which basically means your money is going to get more money every month instead of just sitting and doing absolutely nothing for you. Now, it's still liquid money, but the money is just in a separate account. So most people have their debit cards, and those debit cards are connected to a checking account. And this high yield savings account is usually not really connected to anything, and it's just something that you can keep track of and really kind of separate your money from what you're spending and then what you're keeping for the future. On average, the American household spends around $2,000 to $2,100 a month on bills. Some of you guys watching this might think it's low. Some of you guys watching this might think it's high, but on average, that's let's just say $2,000 on bills a month. So if you were to have 3 months of living expenses in a high yield savings account, that would equal to $6,000 in a savings account. Now, it's not just for bills. Of course, you could use this for a rainy day, whether your car broke down or you have some random dentist appointment or anything like that. This money in the high yield savings account is really to give you that comfort and that peace of mind that you know if anything happens, you are really good and you are just safe. My third piece of advice that you need to do to get ahead in 2020 is to start investing ASAP. Earlier, I spoke about finding extra money and different ways you could save. And after you build a high yield savings account and have at least 3 months of living expenses, or 6 months if you're self-employed, any extra money you have really truly should be getting invested. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but even if it's just weekly investments or daily investments, I'm talking like $5 a day. I think I saw a YouTube video the other day of an Amazon driver, and he literally invested like $5 or $10 a day. And over the course of a year, he made, I want to say, like thousands of dollars. I have to double check it again. To put it into perspective, a lot of people will stop at gas stations daily. I know people who literally can't get in their car and travel somewhere without getting something from the gas station. Usually the gas station trips are around $10, and they're buying like energy drinks or chips or anything like that. And I know it might seem kind of harmless, but that money can really add up, especially when you're looking in terms of investing. Investing into even just the most basic stocks can really add up over the course of weeks, months, or of course even years. I'm not saying you can't do it ever, of course, but every time you go, just ask yourself, would I rather have a couple extra $100 in the future, or would I rather have this bag of Doritos right now? Obviously, there's a spectrum when it comes to this. You know, I'm not saying everybody can just stop at what they're doing right now and never eat out ever again, but consistency always beats perfection when it comes to investing. There's no such thing as timing the market. There's no such thing as waiting for a drop. Studies have proven time and time again that the person who invests consistently in comparison to the person who tries to time the market perfectly always ends up winning with higher returns in the long run. I actually know a couple people who they come to me to ask me for financial advice, and whenever I tell them they need to start investing, they always tell me they're scared to, or they don't know when or how. And I think with this type of thing, a lot of people try to overcomplicate it. You know, they see the stock market and they hear the news, or they just see headlines and they immediately just shy away from it. But in reality, all you have to do, invest whatever you're comfortable with weekly or monthly, and really get your average cost down on the simplest stocks as like the S&P 500 or QQQ to really set yourself up long term. My fourth advice, and this is going to bring things back just a little bit, but what you need to make sure that you're doing for the entire 2026 and honestly the rest of your life, you need to make sure that you are debt free. Now, the crazy part is that I know so many people who literally have no idea how debt works. They think that they can get a credit card and use the credit card however they want until it's maxed out, make the monthly payment, and be perfectly fine, when in reality, they are literally burning money. This also kind of goes for anything that has interest rates. So if you don't know what an interest rate is, it's a percentage that you will pay monthly off the total amount that you owe of that item or credit card. Unless the balance of that thing is zero, you will always pay interest on it. Depending on the rules, of course. For the case of the argument, let's just say it has it. I was going through Instagram Reels the other day and I saw this car dealership talking about getting somebody a brand new car, and they had them locked in for the most vile payment plan I have ever seen in my life. This person got a $30,000 car, but because of the payment plans they were set up with, because whether they had bad credit or they just didn't have enough money to put down, whatever the case may be, they were going to have a $30,000 car and end up paying over $100,000 for it. Absolutely ridiculous. And the sad part is that they probably don't even know they're doing it. With car dealerships, a lot of people would just focus on the monthly payment. And yes, the monthly payment is important in the short term, but if you have a super high interest rate on that monthly payment, you're going to end up paying triple the amount of the price for the car. I can make an entire video on interest rates and credit cards and cars and everything like that, but to put it blankly, you guys really need to get out of debt. If you are, debt is one of the #1 things that hold people back from financial freedom. Speaking of financial freedom, my fifth tip to get ahead in 2026 financially is to really make sure that you don't inflate your lifestyle. Now, what I mean by that is that whenever people get some money underneath their belt, they start to think that they can start spending way more or buying things that they probably don't need or shouldn't have, like a nicer car or a nicer apartment or a house, or just start spending their money on the most random things they can find on Amazon. I'm sure you have heard it before, but people are trying to impress other people with money that they could be using to better their life down the road. I think one of the main things with internet culture is that a lot of people want to really flex or really make it seem like they're way better off than they actually are, because there's kind of like this internal competition with being better than everybody else. And so in return, people want to post, you know, money spreads or nice cars or super nice houses or anything really to make the world know that they are doing better. That's just a classic example of lifestyle inflation. They have a ton of money and then they build up this lifestyle where they have high monthly payments, or they have just brand new iPhones every single year for no reason when the one they got last year is still perfectly fine, all for the sake of having the latest and latest thing. And what happens is eventually it catches up with them and they literally can't afford the lifestyle anymore that they're living, which causes them to go in debt, which, like I said earlier, debt is one of the biggest things that hold people back for financial freedom. Imagine telling your 65-year-old self that you could invest 15 years earlier. Imagine that, 15 years earlier. It might not seem like a lot of time, but you really think about it, 15 years is probably more than half of a lot of people's lives watching this right now. Now, I will admit I'm a bit more of a frivolous spender. I don't really like to buy things unless it's absolutely necessary. I do drive a new Tesla Model Y, but before that I drove a 2012 Prius with over 200,000 miles on it, and honestly that thing was still kicking. The only reason I even got rid of it was because A, it had no tint on it and I live in Texas, so it was pretty hot in the summer, and B, the battery actually ended up dying on me. And so after the cost of the tint and the battery dying, tire replacement and everything like that, it kind of got to the point where I might as well have gotten a new car. So stop letting others judge you and really focus on how you can live the best life possible for yourself and your family and nobody else. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a bonus tip because I kind of just thought of it on the fly, but you really need to simplify things that you're doing in your life when it comes to finances. So I know some people who have a bunch of money, they're doing really, really good, but they have it spread out absolutely everywhere. I'm talking like 3 different brokerage accounts, 5 different banks, a whole bunch of money spread out everywhere for no reason. And all they're doing is spreading themselves thin so they can't organize it as easy, which leads to financial hardship in the long run. You only really need around 4 accounts total, 2 dealing with investment investments, and 2, dealing with your liquid cash. You only truly need one bank company. I mean, yes, technically, I guess you do need multiple banks if you have more money than what would be FDIC insured, but most people watching this right now probably don't have bank accounts over the FDIC insured amount. So I recommend finding a bank company that can give you a high yield savings account and a checking account, and then one brokerage to have your investments. So whether that be Robinhood or Webull is what I would recommend for beginners. Just to wrap that up and lay it out a little bit simpler, your first account should be your checking account, and that's where your bills are going to be paid from. That's where your money from your job is going to be deposited every month. That is what's going to be linked to your debit card. And then your second account is going to be your high yield savings account. This is going to be your emergency fund. This is where you're going to try to have your 3 months of living expenses set inside. Your third account is going to be a Roth IRA. I made a video previously about a Roth IRA. You can check that out if you want to learn more about it. Essentially, it is a retirement account. Your fourth account is going to be an individual investing account. This is kind of like a Roth IRA, just not really tied to retirement. It's simply just buying stocks and letting your money sit inside the stock market and growing over time instead of doing nothing inside a normal bank account. Some people might argue you could also have credit card accounts and stuff like that. And yes, I agree. I do use credit cards myself, but if you're just getting started on figuring out your finances, I recommend not having any credit cards for at least 1 year to really lock down a system and a method to get yourself in a better place. If you are finally getting started on investing, like I mentioned earlier, I just really recommend Robinhood or Webull. Super straightforward. The UI is simple to use. You can use it on your phone or on your computer. And if you can, it makes things easier if you just set up automatic investments every month. So let's say you get paid on the 1st. I recommend doing all your automatic investments on the 2nd of every month. That way that money gets invested and you can kind of set it and forget it. Now, I do have some referral links for Robinhood and Webull. They're not paying me or anything like this. Everybody can get referral links. I'm just going to put a link down for Robinhood and Webull below if you guys want some free stocks. All it does is give me free stocks. I'm not going to get millions of dollars. This isn't a brand deal or anything like that. It's just to help you guys out and to help me out. Or don't use it, use somebody else's link. Honestly, I just want you guys to get some free stocks. There's no point in not using a referral code. So those are going to be all of my tips to get ahead financially in 2026. Make sure you subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you in the next video.